Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. All right, so big message that's coming through here, and I do feel for a lot of you this is linked to yesterday's message as well, although it doesn't have to be. So take that if it resonates, leave it if it does not. But I feel like this is a group that's having some kind of realization, and the realization has been about control in the past. And I think it might go both ways, where you're realizing that you were controlled, but also that you were controlling. I'm hearing you were trying to control the narrative. I'm seeing the Two of Pentacles. So it's like you were trying to, it's double life energy, or it's like you were trying to keep one aspect of yourself and one situation sealed off and hidden from another aspect and another part of self. And I'm seeing this go on in the material world. And this is an attempt to try to have your cake and eat it too, and to try to control the situation. But I'm also seeing this in the mind, like a split of the nature of the self. And so it very deeply impacts the way that you think of yourself. And I feel like I'm hearing unintended consequences, and as you sow, so shall you reap. So I feel like the situation has blown up in your face is what I'm getting. Or this is somebody that you are dealing with, or this has been something here in the past, because I can see that they're linking this to some kind of healing motion here in the future. I'm hearing do not despair, do not lose hope. So they're trying to teach you higher order lessons as you navigate. I'm hearing like this treachery or this experience, because something here has rightfully, I feel like, blown up in your face. If you're the person that was, I think, manipulating and controlling and trying to do this double life thing and sealing off certain parts, for some of you, you were involved with this person. And I imagine that it was very surprising to you when you realized who they really were and what was really going on, and you probably moved away. And then this has blown up in your face as well. And you probably are dealing with a whole host of emotions too. But I feel like this message is coming through for the person that did that. And it can be, is what I'm hearing. It can be a part of your spiritual path. And I feel like that is the first lesson that your guides and your guru is trying to teach you. This, depending on how you look at this situation, what you choose to do from here, this can be what makes or breaks you, is what I'm getting. So there's an opportunity for you to pick up the pieces and build back better, is what I'm getting. And, like with some kind of higher level of understanding. And I think the first level of understanding is that voice. I'm really seeing the snake in the Garden of Eden, that like tempting voice. And I'm hearing that pss, pss, pss. And again, that could be coming from, like, I'm seeing Jiminy Cricket, like your conscience on one side and like the devil on the other side. It's that pss, 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 like, nobody will know, like, just go ahead, like, it's fine. You know, it's that internal voice that has not been sort of uprooted yet, which is fine. A lot of us haven't uprooted it. But there's also, I think, that was mirrored in some kind of tempting experience externally. And that person or that experience was that snake energy in the Garden of Eden. But it was very coaxing, and it was very, oh, it's okay. And again, that came out in the reading yesterday. So you're meant to see that voice, that sentiment that you can have your cake and eat it too, always lies. And the reason that it's a lie is because where your power comes from, and that's what we're really after, and we'll talk about that in just a second, like our own personal power, is in being total. It's in being whole and integrated and total. And that's what the light side of things teaches you. That's what your gurus, that's what your guide is trying to teach you. Nothing is worth that. Nothing is worth splitting your consciousness, and it is never advantageous to do so. I feel like you learned that the hard way. So you'll never fall for this temptation again. Well, it's not to say that you'll never fall for it again. It won't have the same kind of hold on you if you take this as a learning opportunity. And you look at this and you say, well, I was really a fool to believe that, because it's just not the way things work. Sooner or later, because if you're a very smart person and if you're very dexterous and you're very manipulative, then this can go on for quite some time. You can kick the can down the road. I bet you'll wish you hadn't have done that, because the pressure just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And so the explosion is going to be much bigger than if it had just kind of been outed for what it was, and it saw air and it saw sunlight, which is very healing, very cleaning, very disinfecting energy, if it saw the light of day earlier on. So I think you are learning that whatever this wasn't really worth it, and it's better for you to make a decision and remain total, and that is always the path. And so that's what happened here, is like you split yourself, you split your energy, you split your attention, you split your time. And so you don't actually get the results. You don't, even in your life and the fruits that you are building, you don't yield the same results as somebody that is like more complete or more total. And even if you're comparing yourself to other people, Some of you, I think, are very intelligent and you're very smart. There's just been a weaponizing or a misusing of that energy. But I'm hearing like, think of how powerful you could be if you unified yourself, if you integrated yourself. And that's where I feel like Spirit is saying, look, this can lead you to love. This can lead to your dreams coming true. You just have to admit what you can and cannot control. And I'm hearing the serenity prayer in my mind. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And usually the things that we can change are in our own remit. They have to do with our own perspectives. They have to do with our own decisions. They have to do with our own behaviors. And that's what you could have controlled in this situation. And I think that you're starting to put that together, that if you had made different decisions, then things would have turned out differently. And what you needed in order to make a different decision and to be resolved in that is you needed a different perspective. You needed to be acquainted with the truth. And what you needed in order to be able to do that is some kind of skill set or some kind of shift in perspective. And that's what the rubble of this situation can offer for you now. And I feel like you have to admit and you have to concede that you cannot control joy and stability. And I always think about this quote from the Gita, I think it's the Gita 3, where Krishna says to Arjuna, and Arjuna is like the soldier. Mars is the soldier, and it listens to like its commander. So it's this whole kind of back and forth that plays out between the two of them. And we're meant to see ourselves, I believe, reflected back in that. But Krishna explains, he says, cold and hot are just things that touch your sentence. That touch your sentence, that touch your senses. Happiness and not happiness, they are not steady. They come, they go. So just don't worry about it, Arjun. Just don't worry about it. What that means is that the best way to steer your ship, the best way to make your decisions is to understand that it's just about connecting with your personal power and what you have control over and what you don't. And it's wisdom to just concede what you don't have control over. And what you don't have control over is other people and their preferences and their decisions and the way that they're going to react. So, just know that difference between right and wrong, know what your values are, and navigate from that place. And that's where joy tends to genuinely arise from. But it's more about like an acceptance kind of a thing. I hope this makes sense. So it puts you not in a chasing mentality where you're chasing joy. This also links back to karma. And I feel like that's what this group is learning as well, because karma means action and it means right and proper action. And we do not accrue karma, though we take actions, when we take actions that are in alignment with Krishna, with spirit, with our higher self, with God, with our natural path. Those are the things that we're called upon to do. And that's reflected in the Arjun story as well, because he's headed into a battle. He's headed into a war. And he's like, oh, well, it's wrong to do all these things. And Krishna says, you are a coward. Here I sit telling you to go in there, fight for your family, fight for this, fight for that. And it felt right to him. And he needs to be able to tap into that and know the difference between the voice that feels right and the voice that is leading you astray, and to really be able to dig into that. So you can start to feel the difference within yourself. If it's a blanket, like blind spot, a coaxing, you know what that feels like because of the situation. A coaxing, oh, this will be all right. Oh, don't look any deeper. Don't consider the consequences. If it's that, it's probably the voice that's leading you astray, isn't it? See, isn't that a valuable lesson? And so they're trying to shift your perspective around this. My goodness, look at all the fruits that I can pick up here and learn and digest. I can build myself back better. I can build myself back stronger, but I need to loosen my grip about control. And ironically, and there is a paradox here, and if you've listened to my channel, you know I love a good paradox, because a paradox point to me, that's like where God exists. You know you hit pay dirt when you hit a paradox. And I feel like the paradox of power for you is to relinquish. It's the serenity prayer. You relinquish where you do not have it, because we are all limited beings. And if you cannot own your own limitations, then you will forever be led by your own folly. But if you can admit that and you can say, the only thing I have control over here in this world is myself, my actions and my behaviors. Even in the face of extreme adversity, that is still something I can control if I'm willing to accept the consequences of it. That is and will always be my point of power in this world. And that, my friend, is the point of life. That is the alchemy. That is that engine. That's the crux of it right there. Is yes, the only thing you have control over in this world is yourself to a large degree, and you will bump up against other tempers, other energies, other ideologies, other things, and that whole process changes you because you get to tap into courage. You get to tap into confusion and doubt. You get to tap into questioning yourself. All of those things because of the energies that we bump up against. But that is the alchemy. And I'm hearing that quote that says, how will you ever be polished if you are irritated by every rub? So every time that you're knocked around or you feel out of control or somebody makes a decision that you can't control, just know that that's you being polished, your soul being polished, which that's the spiritual perspective. It's not about, I need all the diamonds and jewels, and that's how I'm going to determine my success. The sage, the spiritualist, comes into the material existence. They know that it is temporary. And just as Jesus says in the Bible, do not build your riches in the land that will pass away. You can't take any of this with you. So instead, while you're here, put your focus on a different thing. Bringing forth. And that's what it is. It is a transformation, but it's more of a bringing forth that beautiful soul energy that is within you here into the material world. And that in and of itself is fulfillment. Because when you split your energy, and I feel like this is like the wisdom that you're able to tap into now, or you have tapped into, when you split yourself in half, you don't get anything that you want, not really. At the very least, it's because your attention is so divided, you're not ever really enjoying anything. It's just moving from impulse to impulse, that devil energy to devil energy. Plus, you've got the shame crashes, you've got the trying to clean up your mess, and you can never really enjoy the fulfillment of the fruits of the things that you actually want in your life and that you're actually building. But also, for some, I'm hearing there's a deadening of the senses. They're kind of showing me like if you want to not, like a drug that kind of just like numbs you out and you're like, oh, I can't feel the pain anymore, but you also can't feel the happiness, like something here, or because there's like chasing after extreme highs, like extreme experiences, which deadens you to like the simple sweetness of life. So what it's saying is like there is, even though you may get what you want, this is this devil energy, and it seems like that's what you want on a material level. Well, what you really, that was always your middleman, wasn't it? You wanted that because you thought it was going to bring you joy, happiness, satisfaction, but then it doesn't. Because of the deadening of the senses, because of the splitting of your energy, because you hate yourself afterwards, you don't actually get the fruit that you wanted, which was the satisfaction, which brings me back to the point I was trying to make about karma and understanding right and proper action. Is that a powerful action and an action where you are whole is an action that is taken for its own purpose. And a lot of people struggle with that. Well, there's a lot of things that I don't want to do. You know, it took me 8 years to get my degree and I had to work a lot, like several jobs. And yeah, in the moment, like, was I taking that action? Actually, I was taking that action because I wanted to, because I love education. I love learning. I believe in education. And I find genuine satisfaction about striving, stretching myself in order to reach a goal. And I actually have kind of gotten addicted to that experience. And you can get addicted to that. And that's like a positive, like sort of dragging you out of like negative cycles. And yeah, I wanted the degree at the end, but I like very much enjoyed the process and I understood the value of the process. And when you connect to the value of something, that's where you really find that satisfaction. And so I feel for a lot of you could have cheated in a relationship because you were just like, I just got to get that D, you know, or I just got to get that P somewhere else, like, you know, because I just like, but then it takes the satisfaction away from it. And you don't, there's fruits that you gain from the spiritual path of relationship, you know, if that's what you want to apply yourself to. That can lead me to the rock that is higher than I, right? Or it's that like sustainable, that's just as one example, right? The same way that like sleeping in for class might feel really good in the moment, but you do that more than 2 times and you don't get the credit for that grade. Now you're paying extra. You still have to pay for that class and you failed it. Now you got to retake it. And now like your longer term goal seems further and further away. It's about like placing all those things in perspective and not working against yourself. I just heard you're learning how to be your own best friend here. You're learning how to invest in the future you. And I heard this woman, I can't remember what I was watching, but it was like a TikTok video. And she was talking about how she tries to show herself love and she tries to build her own self-trust by doing little things that are going to make her future self happy. Like even if it's just making her bed or like taking the time to actually put her clothes in the laundry hamper instead of just on the floor, because she knows like when she's coming back from work, she's not going to want to have to deal with that, you know? So I think that's what it's learning, how not to work against yourself and how to be your own best friend. I think also some of you could have been controlled. You thought you were in the control seat and then you were also controlled. That's the other thing, is that like attracts like, and you don't collude with an energy that is sneaky and low and underhand without being taken advantage of in those same ways. Because that person, I think some of you also felt ambushed by the fact that somebody lied to you. You thought that you guys were in it together, but really that person, I'm hearing the two of you did not have, you thought that you were in alignment with your goals, but you were not. You had very different goals than this person. This person just lied in order to use you, in order, like as a pawn, maybe to hurt this other person or to get what they wanted out of the situation. And I think that shocked you that you couldn't see that. But Spirit is saying, look, this person was always showing you who they were. From the moment that they were willing to collude with you in this negative, nasty way, you didn't have an excuse to not see that this was a negative, nasty person that was willing to be low and underhand, that was willing to lie. That's how the devil gets you. As a sort of manufactured consent. It's a very much like, you knew what I was when you met me. How did you meet me? Were we sneaking around? Was I being a moral, upstanding person? Okay, so don't act so surprised. And I think some of you feel like really stupid, and that's okay. It's a shock. It's like splashing cold water on your face. That how do you know what person that you can trust? And that goes back to, like, I think the voice that you trusted, the voice that you clung to, was some kind of like selfish desire, impulse, short-lived. I hate to even use the word satisfaction because it more just feels like a milking of an experience. It's very cheap and it's very fleeting. And that's just, it was very strong in the moment and you were listening to that, but then it ruined everything. And that was the voice you wanted to listen to, and you were very easily convinced by that. But it was because that's what you wanted. And so you weren't actually assessing the situation. I think that's what you're looking at. So you find this with manipulative people, I think, where they get so focused on playing their chess game that they forget life is going on around them. And that there's no way that you can be Machiavellian enough, or, even if you're very good at it, because some people are. You are never going to be Machiavellian enough to control 8 billion people all at the same time. You're going to find your limit, is what I'm trying to say. And you're so focused, because to manipulate requires a narrow focus sometimes. You have to focus on the details. You have to be aware of like the things that could potentially go wrong. And if that's what you're doing, you're going to miss a lot. And I feel like that's what happened here. You were so focused on keeping up the charade that you missed a lot. And I think what hurts the most, I just heard what hurts the most is being so close. So you could have felt like you were so close to like a goal, or like you and somebody, you were so close together. Like you have a genuine like connection with this person. But what hurts the most is, I think that this is what I'm saying is, like, some of you were in a relationship with a person and you were never actually in that relationship with them. And you missed a lot of good things about this person. You missed the true magic of who that person really is and why they were worth your total investment in the first place, and where you could have gone and what you could have gained. And I'm not talking about on a material level. I think that would have come as well. But I'm talking about that satisfaction energy. I'm talking about that genuine fulfillment energy. And this is another thing that you're learning, is that you don't a lot of times know what's going to make you happy. In the moment, we tend to have a better idea of that, but if you follow that devil energy, and in the moment you follow that impulse energy, sometimes, and I feel like you could have seen this, it's at the expense of what makes you genuinely, truly happy, satisfied, and fulfilled. Which is why you can't this goes back to karma, right? And the action. This is why you cannot take action from the perspective of, well, I'm taking this action in order to gain this fruit that I want, as this kind of middleman energy, because you can't control that. And you have to admit that you cannot control that, even if you can control it quite a bit of a time. Because I think that's the other thing. You got eaten by a predator here too, that you colluded with, that you were then shocked to find that they were not what they said that they were, even though they were farting around with you. And you were like, what? Et tu brute? You didn't have a genuine intimacy with this person. You had a gross pact, a gross bond of selfishness and low down behavior. And so don't be surprised in the future with somebody like that betrays you, backs out on the deal, or has their own agenda. Because I think you got played. I think you got muscled in some way. But this person, what happened is that they controlled your happiness and your joy and your stability here. They controlled whether you whether you won or lost, because I think you revealed, or somehow this person could see what you actually wanted in this situation. They knew that was the big thing, and they lied, is what I'm hearing. They lied and said that you wouldn't lose that. But this person, you just gave this person the power over you. That's what happened. You gave this person the power to end something that apparently was very important to you, and to end your joy and to upend your stability. You gave that person the power to do that, because it couldn't be any other way. To involve with this negative person is to give them the power over your life and over this other relationship and over your stability. It cannot be any other way. Even if you trusted this person, which is ill-advised because they're showing you who they are the whole time, even if you did actually trust this person, you still gave away your power over your own life, to be committed and dedicated to building your own joy and stability. And just the best way to do that is to stay in your integrity, to take steps towards your value, and to, when you hit that moment in time where you say, okay, I'm going to have my cake and eat it too, that's that tempting voice. And you realize that's always a lie. It'll always blow up in your face. It cannot be any other way. When you truly understand how things work, it cannot be in any other way, because God doesn't just love you. God loves everybody else and is not going to sit by while this person just gets played. And you'll have your time to figure yourself out, but it just will not happen. Even if it's not in this lifetime, it'll be the next. Nothing goes on forever. Literally, nothing is certain in life but change itself. So stop falling prey to this folly. Look with the eyes of wisdom. Actually see, if you're I think I'm talking to a very strategic group here. I think you're actually very observant and you're very actually intelligent, and you can connect with the things that I'm telling you. When you look around, you do know that change is inevitable. You do. So instead of like holding your breath, and I think you're trying to fight against that by wrestling control back from life. That's not the only way. There's an irony here. There's that paradox of the way that you gain control is by relinquishing control. The way that you gain fulfillment is by kind of admitting that fulfillment comes from, we don't always know what fulfills us, but it definitely comes from liking yourself and not having shame. And if you're having to hide any part of yourself, that is a burden too great. It is a price too expensive, and it means a ding in your happiness unless something is wrong and you've deadened yourself so much. And even then, you're not feeling the happiness of whatever that situation is. There's no getting around it. You have to admit that. I just heard you have to admit your folly. I just heard, fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. So yeah, I feel like this is about power. You're learning a lot about power here. But power is, I just keep hearing the serenity. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And also, it's genuinely joyful to experience other people having self-sovereignty over their life. And that's how you don't get bored. And that's how you create. And that's also, some of you like a little friction here. You do, we all do. But there's natural friction in the world when you bump heads about like a creative idea or endeavor, and you don't try to just control the outcome from behind the scenes. You're robbing yourself of an ability to get to know people on a deeper level, to go through a problem-solving process, and you really are you're cheating yourself out of the opportunity to submit and to, compromise and give up something in favor of a higher dream. And I'm telling you, people, this is one of the things I wish I could just shout to the world. It's like people really cheat themselves of that experience. You do not know that that's where to me, that's where one of the highest highs I've ever experienced comes from. Sacrificing my selfishness and what I might want for somebody that I truly love or for a goal that we share together. There's genuine pleasure that comes from that. A genuine, and it builds genuine intimacy and trust and closeness that really is worth everything. It really is. And I just would hate it if this group never experienced that. If you never got to experience the genuine joy of not getting your way all the time, and of making a little room, and of sacrificing that devil energy for something bigger than yourself and your own impulses. If you're just chasing impulse, or if you're just chasing ass, that is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Not that there was a good intention here, but I think some of you were like, well, I'll come around one day, or I'll fix it one day, or I'm going to have my opportunity, right? But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I'm kind of getting that kicking the rock down the road energy. I'll fix it one day. But it's you've taken the road of least resistance. And that's something you need to look at very honestly, is that you've kind of shown that you will be lulled to sleep and kind of take that path of least resistance. And the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So are you going to all of a sudden have some kind of Herculean ability to overcome something, especially as the challenge with time and distance and more crap that you're pouring into the space, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and perhaps there's more to explain? Is it likely that you're going to all of a sudden turn on a dime? It's not likely. And I think, again, there's an honesty and an integrity that's even, I'm hearing you can't lie to these people and not also be lying to yourself. I feel like you yourself need this like honesty and integrity on your own path, to be honest with yourself about the terrain ahead of you, about where you truly actually stand. And I do feel this is a self-defense, kind of keeping yourself in like a delusion, because I think it's trying to preserve joy or stability or happiness. And you like the feeling of not having to acknowledge that maybe you got yourself into a losing situation. You liked kind of not... I think you needed to take a chance at a certain point in time to win or to lose. And that's what scared you, is you knew in that moment you were going to win or lose. If you were honest, if you revealed something, if you had a conversation to its fullest extent, if you were scared that there was no coming back from that, you would know from that moment forward that you were going to win or lose. And you didn't want to give up the power that you thought it was power of, well, I still don't know. It still could possibly pan out in the future, because no, that's not what happened. You just forfeited. I just heard counterfeit. Like you could have gone after some kind of counterfeit situation, or, counterfeit. Oh, that's where you became not a fit. That's where maybe you proved not fit, because we all mess up, but it's a matter of like, do you stay down? Like, I think you did something here that knocked your integrity. And then I think that you didn't clean it up, and that's when you became not a fit. It was like the unwillingness to actually do what was needed to bridge the gap, to be honest, to genuinely apologize, and to give somebody their choice, their self-sovereignty. But you would have to step out of this maneuvering behavior here, this manipulative behavior. So it's just love gives. It's like very liberating. I'm picturing you just opening up your hand and giving this person the choice. And ironically, that is what they need to choose you, to trust you again, to know that you're on the same page about what being a person is, and what winning actually is, and what fulfillment actually is, and to where you have shared goals. And that shared goals is, I don't want to live a half life where I section parts of myself off. I don't want to live a life where I have to lie in order to get these small little crumbs of fulfillment that don't actually fulfill me. I hate myself at the end of the day, and I don't get to ever I don't want to live that kind of life. And I don't want to be with a partner that would do that to me. I don't want to build and then have everything blow up in my face because it turns out that you're nursing 4 mistresses on the side and were never the man I thought you were. Like, do you know what that would do to me? Like, it's relinquishing that and tending to somebody's needs, not your own, and choosing who that person is because you like that person and you believe in that person. This is true transcendence of the self that you sit on the cusp of. And it's a choice. It comes down to a choice. And it's also wisdom, because I think that you maybe were very hard-headed in the past, or there were certain things that you were refusing to see, and you were also being controlled by this, like, an energy that was around you. And it's internal and it's external. It's this part of you, like, that has the perspectives that I've described, but it's also somebody here that was like, oh yeah, totally, like, we're on the same page. I want the same things that you want. Meanwhile, they didn't. They just have no scruples about them. And they feel that you should have known that because of what they were doing with you. And so it's no sweat off their back that you trusted them when obviously they shouldn't have been trusted. That's literally how this person views the situation. They're like, I wasn't trying to hide it from you. Like, this person they're very flip-floppy. What they did was wrong, but again, like, they can't admit that. So I feel like you had to look in the mirror of what it feels like when the shoe is on the other foot, because you were trying to control somebody by hiding something, but then this person was controlling you. And now you know what it feels like to have the shoe on both feet now. You know what that feels like, which is an invaluable experience. So, yes, you've hit the dirt, but what do you do now? Again, you're presented with another choice. Decide who you are. Are you the person who you get knocked down, but you get up again? You're never gonna keep me down, right? Or is that you? Are you the person who can learn from your mistakes? Because again, we all make mistakes here. But this is about, like, weighing your own heart. This is about, who am I? And I need to make a decision to clean up my act, or to clean something up here. And that is invaluable. And the process that you will go through and the person that you will become is somebody that you can be proud of. And that's the real prize here. And I feel like it may just lead to your dreams coming true. In regards of love, I feel like this is in regards with love with somebody. But you can't manipulate. You're missing the point if that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to take the shortcut because you want that hit off the cigarette. But you have to change fundamentally who you are. You have to change, not fundamentally who you are, but you have to change the way you navigate. Because this person loves who you are. And you just have to learn how to bring that to the forefront. And you need to learn how to stand in that and genuinely stand in it. And say, this is who I am. And then just be that every moment of every day. And there's a satisfaction that comes from that. There's a strength. There's a respectability. I feel like this might be things that you admire in this person, and that's just what they're doing. They don't falter on their values because nothing's worth that. Literally nothing is worth that. It feels like 10 orgasms wrapped into one to just like yourself in any given moment. You know? There's nothing worth that. But that's me knowing what my values are and what my priorities are. And knowing what's worth falling for. And I'm hearing from Eat, Pray, Love, Katut. He's like the little, he's from Bali, and he was like the medicine man. And he says, Liz, which is Elizabeth Gilbert, she's the author. He goes, Liz, to lose balance for love is part of living balanced life. So I feel like you lost balance here. And I feel like, I'm going to be honest, like, for a manipulator, that sucks to lose balance because you feel like you lost control, and possibly that you lost your identity in this. And it broke you open. Some of you might want to read Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser, another Elizabeth. Yeah. And, but it broke you open. It cracked this very like rigid facade. And you've got a chance now. The real you actually has a chance now. And when your ego thought that you were in a better position, you actually were in a worse position. You didn't have a chance. You really didn't. Because it's about bringing forth who you actually are and letting that shine through. And having the courage to be flexible and to admit and to live in your truth. And to let whatever is for you choose you and whatever is not for you not choose you. Because this energy that you colluded with is not for you. Like, you don't have anything in common with this person. It's really, ugh. And they would walk away if you couldn't have been used as a pawn in their game. They wouldn't have been interested. They would have walked away. They wanted to use you as a pawn in their game for some reason, because they're obsessed with control as well. They've got their own like issue here. And you can only pray that they have their own crash and burn moment where they can wake up and realize what they've done. I do feel like this person's kind of worse off than you, whoever this person is. They're like further gone, you know? But just know that this has given you your chance. And that's where you sit right now. This has given you your moment where you can choose to be something different. And I just want to say that one more time though. When your ego thought that you were winning and that you were in a better position, because you didn't know, you were able to tell yourself that, well, I don't know if I was winning or losing. Like, it still might go in my favor. It wasn't going to go in your favor. You didn't do what you needed to do in the time frame you needed to do it. It was not going to go in your favor. It was going to blow up in your face. That's what was going to happen. Wonder no more. You were in a worse position then. You're in a better position now. But you have to admit that there are things that you can control. And that's you mostly. And there are things that you cannot control. There are things that potentially you could control in the short term, but you would have to sacrifice your righteousness to do it. And it's not worth doing that because you see the higher picture. That's what you're kind of learning here. This is a concession where you're just learning that that's actually not the intellect that it looks like because you've seen the folly in it. You've lived the folly in it and you've lost big. And there's no going back from this place. And this soulmate, because I really strongly feel if this is a soulmate energy that puts you through your paces in regards of this. This is a soulmate energy that is not going to accept less than their worth and that will not accept you being in whatever bullshit energy this was in the past. That is absolutely of God. It's leading you on your healing journey. Trust that. You can't control the outcome, can you? And that doesn't mean that it's not worth taking it. You've got to take it for the right reasons, don't you? This is why I'm saying this is of God here. You've got to take it for the right reasons, and the right reason is your spiritual journey. The right reason is because it's wrong to live the way that you lived, and it's also stupid, and you see it now. And you don't want to be around these kind of people you were around in the past. It puts you at risk. You see that now. So you've got this moment, the moment of clarity is what I'm hearing. Where you've got to take the step, and come hell or high water, right? Come what may. Because there's some karma that you need to learn how to trust that process. You need to build that up strong to where you are the person that you naturally are and that you have the courage to be that person and not whatever the hell was going on back here. And that is the person that this person wants to love. But they're not to risk themselves. You're not to take this journey because you want them as the prize at the end of it. They're not interested in being your prize. You are your prize. And then if you want to hang out with them and put your tongue in each other's mouths and build some things together, then they're open to doing that. But they're not your prize. You're your prize. The spiritual journey is your prize. That's how you know this is a good person. That's how you know this is the righteous kind of person. So, and it's like God's like right behind them, you know? Because ultimately, you're journeying towards God like all souls are. It's just that this person's very much on that path. And there's a potential that you go on a stretch of the journey with this person as well, in harmony and in love. But you have to be the strong person who can honor that relationship, protect that connection in this person's heart and not deceive them, etc. So Spirit is wanting to remind you that there's opportunity that's beckoning here. Yes, from the ego's perspective, this was a failure. You're not potentially going to get what you want, potentially not in this lifetime, right? But you have to relinquish the control. There is no guarantees here, and if you're looking for one, you're not going to get one. Because that's not the point of this. The point of this is to go deeper. The point of this is to build from the core out and from the bottom up. from a place of sincerity and integrity towards God, goodness, righteousness, wholeness, completion, integrity, integration. And you may want to get a serenity prayer and put it up somewhere. God, grant me the serenity. Which, how do you have happiness and fulfillment if you don't have basic serenity? By dragging all this drama in, right? So God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, so I'm done preaching at you. That's what I have. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.